is the Rhino. I actually have a skin on. So the Rhino has an average amount of firepower, it has a considerable amount of armor, it has a just below average amount of shield, and a below average amount of speed. Weapon systems are head-tracked tri-flak cannons, micro-warp drive, and ECM countermeasures. So unlike the fighters, the Heavy here only has one weapon system, which is that head-tracked tri-flak cannon. To be fair, it only needs the one weapon system because your weapon system is head-tracked. So wherever you look is where you're going to fire. The secondary system on here, whereas obviously the Wraith and the Dominator has missiles, instead on here you have a micro-warp drive. Now the micro-warp drive, as we saw with the Spectre, you pick a direction, you hold that back left trigger again, your micro-warp drive will begin spawning up, it'll start charging, and then it will fire you across the map in whatever direction you're pointing. After a short duration, it will disengage. Unless you disengage it early, you can let go of that trigger early and it will just stop you. But it also has a limited distance. Once you reach that point, your micro warp drive will go on cooldown. You'll then have to wait for the ship to finish on its cooldown before you use that micro warp drive again. Its third system, again, same as what we saw on the fighter, ECM countermeasures. Easiest way of removing any incoming missiles coming after you, just hit that button and you'll see the chaff, the flares coming off your ship to get rid of that incoming missile fire. In terms of the upgrades on the ship, so the Rhino is a bit of a machine. It does increased damage to armor, it does increased damage to shield, and it has a rate of fire increase. So all the upgrades on the ship just make it deal as much damage as possible. It's a bit of a machine compared to the Spectre. It doesn't have the EMS that we saw in the Spectre, the system that you can use to EMP targets. So it's a little bit more vulnerable in that regards. It's a lot easier to fly around as a ship on your own, because obviously the EMS, the EMP works really well with teammates, EMPing a target and getting your teammates to finish off that target. Whereas the Rhino just flat out deals constant damage. It is a little bit scary to come up against. If you're facing the target, you normally have to find cover and work your way around, come up behind it to kill it. Excuse me. So the head-track tri-flak cannon compared to the standard flak that you see in the Spectre, the head-track tri-flak actually explodes in a bigger sphere. So you'll see the shot fire off and you'll see it explode into like a small red sphere in space. Again, it's got small amounts of AoE damage, so it will hit anything in that small sphere. So if you have a friendly that's dogfighting with a hostile, then if you fire into that, yes, you'll be hitting your heavy, but yes, you will also be hitting your ally. So once again, flying this ship, you have to be careful where you shoot, because you could end up killing your teammates if you're not careful. And that is the Rhino.